Nearly a quarter of the players watching my videos level their great buildings with swap threads or by self-leveling. Yet, why are 3/4 leveling with 1.9 threads? They're faster and they're cheaper. However, it can also be hard to understand with lots of math. Let's fix that. In a swap thread or by self-leveling, your great building is leveled at the speed at which you can pay forge points. If you make 50 forge points per day, every day your great buildings get 50 forge points per day, either by you paying it directly or by participating in, say, a 50 forge point swap and someone else paying you that 50. In a 1.9 thread, however, you pay only what is needed to lock a spot on your great buildings, which means that when a player takes a 1.9 spot on your great building, no one can pay more than their contribution. In essence, you pay way less than the actual cost of the great building's level, whereas with a swap, you pay that full cost. Still confusing? Don't worry. Here's an example of a great building being primed, which means being prepared for a 1.9 thread. The first step is to find the forge point reward for each spot on your great building, which in these cases are these numbers. Then we multiply each spot times 1.9. This is the cost for a player with a level 80 arc to take the spot and receive the exact number of forge points that they paid. If needed, you round to whole numbers. Once we have these numbers, you then have to put down the forge points needed to lock the spot. Our goal is to make it so that someone can't pay more than the person taking the spot, so we want to double the 1.9 number to find this value. Then we take the cost of the level of the great building and subtract our value, repeating this for lower spots. This gives us the forge points that you have to pay to lock each spot. Usually first and second require the same number of forge points and it increases from there. So what does all this math actually do for us? Well, take the first two spots. If we pay the forge points needed, that means that the player who takes first will pay this amount. Now, say they take the spot and someone tries to snipe or take the spot from them. The maximum amount of forge points that player can pay is the exact amount needed to level the great building, and they are unable to pay more than our locked first spot. This makes 1.9 threads safe from sniping as long as you don't prime spots too early. If I pay the total forge points needed to lock all the spots without players taking those spots as I go, then it's possible to be sniped since you no longer need to pay 1.9 times the reward to lock a spot. If you still find the math confusing, that's okay. I've never actually done the math myself. Instead, there's tons of online calculators that will do it for you, my favorite being FOE.tools. If we choose their great building investment tool and then select which great building we want to level, same as the previous example, and then choose the level of the great building we are working on and ignore all the other options, we can see that it tells us the places, the costs you need to pay to lock the spots, and the forge points that other players need to pay to take the spots. You simply take the numbers for that level and use them. No math required. For most 1.9 threads, you'll usually have a guild or a group of players with level 80 arcs taking spots, and you lock the first spots, then post the costs in the thread with your name, the great building you're leveling, and the cost of the spot. Other players will take the spots, and then you repeat until you level your great building. If you're still on the fence about the ease of swap threads, look at this chart. The orange line is the cost of leveling the arc from level 0 to 80 in swaps or by self-leveling, so paying the full cost for each level, while the purple line is the cost of using a 1.9 thread. In total, leveling the arc via 1.9 threads costs 13% of the cost just doing swaps. If you're still confused about 1.9 threads, and I know I would be, find a 1.9 thread on your world and either message some of the players using it asking for help or just jump right in. The best way to understand them is just by participating in them, and you'll be glad you did. If you want to learn more about each method of great building leveling, check out my recent video on the topic linked at the top right. I wish you speedy leveling of great buildings, and I'll see you next time.